I want you to think of someone that you know, someone who worked hard their whole life. They did the right things. They followed the rules, probably even had moments of real, legit success. And yet, at the end of the day, the money just wasn't there. Somehow the opportunities just disappeared. Maybe something always seemed to just fall through right before that moment of success. Now, let's contrast that. I want you to think of someone else, someone who isn't smarter than you, who doesn't work more hours, doesn't have more degrees or more connections, and yet somehow money just flows to them, doors open, and things work out. A lot of times we'll say that that person is just lucky. But what's the real difference? Because luck isn't scientific. I'm going to tell you something that the self-improvement industry will never tell you, because if they truly understood it, they couldn't keep selling motivational books and courses, because the difference is not in what they do. It is in what their brain does without them even realizing it. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how that works with the actual science, with real numbers, and with a protocol that you can start applying right now. But before I go into the science, I want to tell you something very important. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you 3 exact doors, 3 very specific protocols that you can start using today. These are all neuroscience based. It's not just fluff motivation. It's not shallow affirmations. These are actual tools. But first, you need to understand why everything that you've tried until now hasn't worked at the level that you need it to. Because if you don't understand the mechanism, the tools won't make sense. And honestly, you probably won't use them. So stay with me, because this is going to be worth it. Real quick, if this is already making you think differently, hit the like button right now. It tells me that this content is worth making more of, that people are enjoying it. And if you're new here, subscribe. I post the science that they never taught you about your own mind every single week. All right, let's dive right into it. First, I'm going to tell you about a study that changed everything that we thought we knew about success. Researchers studied people who had won the lottery, millions of dollars in one shot. And they tracked what happened in the years that follow, and the results were actually pretty disturbing. They said that 70% of lottery winners in the United States ended up broke within the first 5 years. Think about that. Millions of dollars, no debt, no starting line, everything in their favor, and still the money disappeared. Why? Because money was never the problem. The mental program was the problem. The subconscious of those people was programmed for a certain level of life, a certain level of income, a certain economic identity. And when the external reality extends that program, the subconscious does everything in its power to return to the equilibrium that it recognizes. This is not a metaphor. This is neurobiology. Researcher Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia documented that your conscious mind, this is the part of you that's making decisions, that's setting goals. This is the part of you that says this year is going to be different. This part of your brain processes approximately 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind receives approximately 11 million bits per second, processes approximately 40,000 of those. Now, your subconscious is not a small part of your mind. It's almost all of your mind. And 99.99% of what determines your results, your automatic decisions, your behavioral patterns, your reactions to money, to risk, to opportunity, it's happening back here in that part of your mind that you have no conscious access to. So when somebody tells you, just decide to be successful, they're asking you to change the weather by changing the thermometer. And that's not how it works. Now, how did that program get formed? This is where the science gets personal. Bruce Lipton spent decades researching epigenetics and belief systems, and what he found changes everything. Before the age of 7, the human brain operates predominantly in theta brainwaves. These are the same brain waves, the same state that occurs in an adult that's under deep hypnosis. What that means is that during the first 7 years of your life, you had no critical filter. You couldn't evaluate what was coming in. You were just a sponge. You couldn't say, well, I don't know, do I want to believe that? Or that doesn't apply to me? Or I don't know, maybe that's not true. Everything went straight into your mind as though you were in a deep hypnosis. Let me give you an example. Imagine a 5-year-old boy. Imagine that the father comes home from work exhausted, frustrated, and says, without thinking, without any sort of bad intent, the father says, son, life is hard. Money doesn't come easy. You have to suffer to get ahead. That child didn't analyze that sentence. He doesn't question it. He records it as an absolute truth about how the world works. And 30 years later, that child, now a grown man, professional, intelligent, educated, unconsciously feels that if something is easy, it's too good to be true, or it isn't worth it. Feels that if he isn't suffering, he isn't earning or doesn't deserve it, that money only comes with sacrifice. And he sabotages without realizing it every opportunity that comes too easily. Lipton estimated that approximately 70% of those subconscious programs that we recorded in childhood are negative, limiting, or flat out directly counterproductive. Not because our parents were bad people, but because we don't come with an owner's manual and neither did our parents. Our parents were running their parents. It's an inheritance, but not genetic. It's a mental inheritance. And here's where quantum physics enters. And I want to be very precise with this because a lot of people use quantum physics as a spiritual decoration without understanding what it actually says. Max Planck, the father of the quantum theory, Nobel Prize in physics, said something that almost nobody in the self-improvement world quotes correctly. Matter, physical matter as such, does not exist. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force that brings the particles of an atom to vibration. Now, Planck was not a mystic. He was one of the most rigorous physicists of the 20th. And what quantum physics demonstrated in real laboratories with replicated experiments is that reality at the subatomic level is not fixed. It's probabilistic. And the state of the observer influences the outcome. The double-slit experiment proved this decades ago. Subatomic particles behave differently depending on whether they observed or not. The consciousness of the observer affects physical reality. This is published in Physical Review Letters, not some spirituality blog. It's one of the most rigorous scientific journals in the world. So what does that have to do with your bank account? Well, the HeartMath Institute in California measured that the electromagnetic field of the human heart extends up to 90 centimeters. That's almost 3 feet outside the body. And that field changes measurably depending on your emotional state. So our logical, analytical, intelligent minds making all of these rational decisions, we don't quite take into consideration the fact that our emotional state is actually altering the field around us. You are not a passive observer of your reality. You are an active transmitter of a signal in every moment of your life. And your internal state is not separate from the world that you experience. In fact, your internal state is part of what builds the external experience. Let me give you another example. Maybe this one's a little bit closer to home. Think of two people going into the same business meeting. Same room, same people, same opportunities on the table. Maybe they even have the same suit. The first person arrives tense with anxiety. Their body is in defense mode with the subconscious story that they never get chosen. Something always follows through. Maybe they're just not quite enough or not quite ready. The second person arrives in a state of internal coherence, calm, present, no need for approval because their internal program already says they have arrived and that they belong. Now, which person is going to give the better presentation? Which one is going to generate more trust? And which one closes the deal? That's not magic. That's physiology. When the body is in threat mode, cortisol is elevated. The sympathetic nervous system is activated. The prefrontal cortex, that's the part of the brain that makes the best decisions, partially shuts down. You literally have less access to your own intelligence when you're operating from fear. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio at the University of Southern California documented this. Without access to a balanced emotional state, humans make significantly worse decisions. Emotions don't interfere with logic. They're an essential part of it, whether we realize it or not. So now we arrive at the real question. How do you change the program? And here I want to be very specific because there is an enormous difference between what works and what gets sold. Dr. Joe Dispenza, whose research includes more than 15,000 people that were studied with real-time EEGs and meditation retreats, documented that real subconscious change doesn't happen when you simply change your thoughts. It happens when you change the emotional state of the body, because the body has its own memory, its own nervous system, its own automatic patterns. And as long as the body keeps responding emotionally from the past, with anxiety, with contraction, with shame, with feeling unworthy, positive thoughts are going to hit that wall every single time. So there are 3 access doors that neuroscience has validated. The first door is the theta state. Your brain enters theta brainwaves naturally twice a day. The first 15 minutes after waking up, when you're in that groggy state, you're not fully conscious yet, still between sleep and awake. And the second time is the last 15 minutes before you fall asleep, as you're kind of drifting between that wakefulness and rest. That's the theta brainwave state. In that state, the critical filter of the conscious mind, that firewall, relaxes. The subconscious is open and accessible. What you introduce in those 30 minutes daily has a neurological impact that is disproportionate to the rest of your day, not because it's magic, but because you're speaking directly to the operating system without the firewall. How many of us don't take advantage of those 2 time frames? Maybe the first thing that we do is we wake up and we check the news. We're using those theta waves incorrectly, or maybe we can even say that we're not using them at all. When you're in that state, if you focus on the images of what you want to build, accompanied by the emotion of already having it, you're using the exact same mechanism that you used to record the limiting programs in your childhood. Only this time, you are the architect. Now, the second door is called cardiac coherence. This is what we mean by that. The HeartMath Institute documented that when you generate coherence between the heart and the brain through rhythmic breathing and the activation of genuine positive emotions, not just emotions that we list off of a shopping list of emotions, your body enters a receptive state that facilitates the reprogramming of automatic patterns. So this protocol is very simple. It's 5 seconds of inhale and 5 seconds of an exhale while you focus on the area of your heart, maybe even putting your hand right there, and a real emotion, not a performed one, but a sincere, deep sense of gratitude or appreciation. Sometimes when we've done exercises like this in the past, maybe we're reading off the emotions like a shopping list. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for the food. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about actually taking a minute and accessing that frequency of gratitude and appreciation. Hold that feeling for 5 minutes. That's it. Just 5 minutes twice a day. Documented effects include reduced cortisol, improved heart rate variability, and greater cognitive clarity. These are not spiritual effects. These are measurable effects in a laboratory. Now, the third door is emotional repetition, not intellectual repetition. This is the mistake almost everyone makes with affirmations. Affirmations fail, not because the idea is wrong. They fail because they're intellectual. We're saying them with words, but our body doesn't believe it, and the unconscious mind doesn't speak English. The subconscious listens to the body and to the emotions, not the verbiage. Neuroscientist Donald Hebb established this in 1949 with what we now call Hebb's rule. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you combine a thought with an intense emotion and repeat it, you're physically building new neural connections. You're literally changing the structure of your brain. The difference between visualization that works and visualization that doesn't is one single variable. It's the emotional intensity, not how many times you say it, not how deeply you imagine it. It's how you feel while you're saying it. Now, we're going to circle back to the beginning here. That person who always seems to be on the verge of making it, but something falls through. The colleague who works the same hours as you, but lives a completely different reality. Lottery winner who ended up broke. This is not luck. It's not cosmic injustice. It's not that the universe hates you or the universe has favorites. They are running different programs, and programs can be changed. Your subconscious mind is filtering and processing through 11 million bits of data per second. Your financial reality, your relationships, the opportunities you see, and the ones that you never even pay attention to. All of that is the output of the system running in the background. Changing the output requires going into the system and changing the code. And that's exactly what we do here. If this video opened something for you, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things right now. First, like this video. It takes 2 seconds and it helps more people find this content who need it. Second, please subscribe and turn on the bell, because what's coming next is the complete map and you don't want to miss it. Third, please drop a comment below and tell me which part hit you the hardest. What question do you want me to answer next? I read every single comment and I answer them, and your questions matter because they become the content for the very next videos. So, reality responds to your consciousness, and now you know that is not just a pretty phase, it's neuroscience. My name is Dina Moore, and I'll see you in the next video.